Hello, and thanks for watching this Acumatica video on physical inventories. So in Acumatica, we have a number of different ways to perform physical inventory. And this is defined under physical inventory types. So you can see in our sales demo, we have a number of different types. So let's start off with ABC code and we'll work our way down. So this one generates physical inventory count documents, and that's what it is. It's a document to allow us to start counting our inventory. And this one does it by ABC code. So there's a few options here. We can include items with zero book quantity in our physical inventory doc. We can unfreeze the stock as soon as the counting is finished. Ordinarily, we release the counting document and then we unfreeze. We can hide the book quantity on the physical inventory count. This is useful if you don't want your warehouse people to know what the current count is. This will force them to do a count on their own and not just use the numbers on the document. Now down here, we have a few options. Now down here, we could either pick by frequency or choose the ABC code. So you'll notice the different ABC codes have been defined under the ABC code form. So we have an A where we count 6 times per year. We have a B and a C and a D where there's different counts per year. Now, if I select this to only count A, then this physical inventory type will include all items in the A designation. Now, if I choose by frequency, then Acumatica will automatically present these physical inventories upon their cycle of either 6, 3, 2, or 1 in this case. Okay, so that's ABC code. So now let's move to the next one. This is calendar cycle. So this is choosing by cycle. We have the same options up above. And we're doing this by frequency, but let's take a look at the cycle IDs. So these are defined under inventory cycles, where you can define your own schedule or frequency. So we have annual, monthly, and quarterly, counts per year defined. And these items will be included if they're associated with annual, monthly, or quarterly, or by frequency. So just to jump out for a moment, let's take a look at the stock item profile. Because one of the things we may have jumped over is how the ABC code as well is defined. So on the main page of the stock item profile, you can define manually the cycle, the ABC code, or the movement class. Now keep in mind, and this isn't part of this video, these ABC codes and movement classes will get updated accordingly when you run that process screen. But you have the ability to fix and define one in here and not allow it to get updated. So jumping back, if we choose an annual count, then all of the items that are in the annual count will be displayed here. Now, on this physical inventory type, I want to jump out to warehouse location selection as well. So this allows us to filter by warehouse and add certain locations. So we may only want to go and do our first row. So row 1 to row 1, shelf 3. And we can add these into our count. So this way we more define our counting selection. And these bin locations are defined under the stock item. And then we have the ability to change our assignment order. So in this case, we're doing it by location, then by inventory ID, then if there's any lot and serial numbers, and then inventory description. So when we're looking at our count sheet, this is how the order is filtered. But we can change this and give it different orders. So let's go to the next one. So this is a full count. So it's selected here. And if we go back to the warehouse selection, we still have the ability to filter by warehouse and bin location. And we still have the ability to change our assignment order. So this one's pretty straightforward. Let's go to our next one. So this one allows us to do it by movement class. And we talked about ABC code and inventory cycle. But this one's movement class. Same kind of thing. We can define a specific movement. We can say average. Or we can say by frequency, which will automatically know to pick the items based on their frequency when we run this process. So let's continue moving on. This allows us to select by item class. So you can see this tab is really the tab that continues to fluctuate here as we change our generation method. So here we have the ability to define the item class. So if you go and select plus, you can see all your different item classes here, and this will allow you to select based on the inventory item class. So the last one we have is by inventory. And this has a few options. So again, on the left, we have our item selection, inventory item selection. But there's a few options here. So the selection method here is list by items. So this allows us to add additional items as we see fit into this physical inventory type. We can also click the add button and do a starting and an ending range. But there's other options here too. So let's take a look. So we can do a random items up to. So we could just select, I want to do 10 random items. So I want to keep up with my physical inventory. And to do that, this allows me to keep going on and on and on and not have to do a major cycle. So that's one option. The other option is items having negative book quantity. Now typically, most companies don't allow negative quantity. However, in a point of sale environment, it's absolutely required because if a customer shows up at the register with an item, you're not going to tell them that we can't sell it to you because we don't have enough inventory in our computer system. So we allow negative quantities, and they're defined in the item class in Acumatica. But this allows you to go through all of the negative book quantities and count those alone. The last option we have is last count on or before. So this is kind of cool because what you can do is you can include all of the items that haven't been counted in less than 60 days. So this is really nice. So these are our physical inventory types. So now what we do once we decide what we want to count is we'll go into our prepare physical count. We'll choose our type. So there's a few options here. We can select our locations. These are the locations we're selected. We can exclude certain locations. We can exclude certain inventory items on the fly if we have the rights. But we're going to generate our physical inventory. Now, Acumatica treats this as a document, which is what it is. So as a document, it'll keep track of the physical quantities, the variance quantities, and the variance costs. And it'll keep track of your accounting process. You can count from this screen by going to the physical quantity, and I can go through here and continue to count. And maybe this one's off by 1. Or what you can do is go into our reports and print a physical count sheet. So we pull our physical inventory document number and we'd run it. And now we can go through the warehouse and basically write the quantities in and then return back to our physical inventory count document and key them in. So let's finish these quantities off. 39. So Acumatica tells us we have one negative quantity. We'll save it. You can then go into your review document, and Acumatica separates this so that one person can be the final approver for this count. So we can click on Finish Counting, and once we're done, we can complete this. And now this is completed. Now you'll notice the variance cost, and if we go to Adjustment Info, you'll see the adjustment reference number. This is an inventory adjustment document in Acumatica to create the variance. So -1 quantity for this particular item for the $418.99. And that's it. That's how we do a physical inventory in Acumatica. If you have any questions at the end of the video is our contact information. Please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.